I remembered. All right. Welcome, everybody. It is just so great to have you all here. To bright, shining, scrubbed faces and lots of it. Wonderful to have Mark and Marcia back. And of course, with Mark and Marcia, we also get Ron and Margie. So, I mean, it's a great collection. And thank you all. So I have already made Frank our co-host, so he can share his screen. We'll jump right into the first 15. And his topic is one that's near and dear to me.
Space. You are in the meeting hosted by Wendy Wilmer with 26 participants. Your audio is muted. Your video is off. The meeting is being recorded. Zoom meeting.
What? Okay. Welcome, Walden. It's good to have you aboard.
You are viewing Frank Morgan's screen.
I think I would like everyone to mute themselves other than Frank, if at all possible, just because we get better sound quality that way. Otherwise, if you don't mute yourself, I will mute you.
Okay.
All right, take it away, Frank.
Thank you. Well, after the serious nature of last month's first 15, I thought that the children's show Speed Gibson of the International Secret Police would be kind of lighter fare for April. The stories are circulated of the exploits of the flyers of World War I, the historic solo flight of Lindbergh from New York to Paris. They all stirred the interest of many youngsters in the world of aviation. So in 1937, the radio adventure of the 15-year-old character Speed Gibson in the worlds of flying, law enforcement, espionage,
Lindsay Curcio has joined the meeting.
Locations was clearly designed to and did in fact capture the interest and imagination of the program's listeners. The program was created by Virginia Marie Cook. Though born in Florida in 1907, at an early age her family moved to California, where for 10 years Virginia attended the Hollywood School for Girls. One of her instructors at the school was Edith Head, who later gained fame as a fashion designer for the movies. Amongst her classmates were two daughters of Cecil B. DeMille, Cecilia and Agnes. Oh yeah, and Harleen Harlow Carpenter, better known later as the actress Jean Harlow. In her career, Virginia worked as a writer for radio, television, and film. Speed Gibson of the International Secret Police was a typical 15-minute juvenile program. It was syndicated, serialized, and consisted of 178 episodes. Fortunately, all 178 exist, and as a result of restoration efforts, are of good sound quality. The first 100 episodes of the series deal with the efforts of Speed and his friends of the International Secret Police to capture the elusive master criminal, the Octopus. Some have referred to the first series as The Menace of the Octopus. The final 78 episodes that complete the series are entitled Speed Gibson and the Atlantean Syndicate. Radio historian John Dunning, in the volume Tune In Yesterday, describes Speed Gibson as one of the corniest, most outrageously enjoyable series of the 1930s. According to radio historian and researcher Terry Salmonson, the show first aired on January 2nd of 1937 and wrapped up on May 25th of 1940. Speed was introduced to the International Secret Police by his uncle, Clint Barlow. Clint was played by a then 32-year-old Howard McNear. On radio, McNear, of course, is best known for his role as Doc Adams on Gunsmoke. Listeners to the program could join Speed on his adventures by becoming an operator of the Secret International Police. Like many other programs, Speed had a secret code for sending messages. There was an oath to be taken upon joining, a membership card, and an assignment card that would be issued. And you can read the oath as it appears there. As a member of the International Secret Police, I promise to obey and protect law and order in my country, my state, and my city, and wherever my duties may take me. I will cooperate with all law enforcement agencies. I pledge myself to keep physically strong and mentally alert for every duty I am assigned to, and I further promise to respect the code of the International Secret Police: silence, courage, honor, service, and not betray it in any manner whatsoever. Now, here's a young Gail Gordon who, while he was in the early stages of what would be a long career, he had already played Flash Gordon, but he played the evil octopus, the world's greatest smuggler. Of course, we often think of Gordon more often as Mary Latrivia on Fibber McGee or Osgood Conklin on Our Miss Brooks. Three other familiar actors who enjoyed lengthy careers in radio were at times on the show. On the left is John Brown, who's better known as Ethelbert, the bartender in Casey, and that's the photograph of him there. Hanley Stafford, who's Daddy on Baby Snooks, and Sam Edwards, who you don't see that often, but you'd certainly recognize his voice. He plays almost a teenager a week on Dragnet, and often young cowpokes who get shot on Gunsmoke. Well, do I hear some muted murmuring asking, well, who is the actor that played Speed? Over the years, Speed Gibson enthusiasts have pondered that question. In the OTR community, the general consensus was the actor was unknown. There was speculation that it might be, well, there's no need to speculate any longer. Our researcher extraordinaire and our club member, Carl Shadow, has found the answer. When Carl revealed his research into the mystery of the name of the actor who portrayed Jimmy Barton in the classic Cinnamon Bear series, he chose the form of a nationally syndicated radio program to reveal it. But when Carl went looking for the forum to end the Speed Gibson mystery, he selected, no, not our meeting tonight, but the upcoming issue of our own Radio Recall. So for tonight, the answer to the question will remain a mystery. But let's listen and see if we can guess who the actor is. In the next issue of Radio Recall, we can read Carl's article to find out if we were correct. So the show I've chosen for tonight is episode 100 of the series. It's the last episode of the first series and sets up the second series. As I said, it'll give you an opportunity to detect and discern the voices of the various actors. Enjoy Speed Gibson.
Speed Gibson of the International Secret Police. Feeling zero. After capturing the octopus and his band of gangsters, Speed, Clint, and Barney stop off at the house of La Chaux-Tzy Ring to call for Larry Winfield and to also bid their friends farewell. Clint tells Barney to fly the secret police plane to Nagchuka and await him there while he settles last-minute affairs in Lhasa. Just as they are about to leave, shots are heard in the garden where Bob Gilmore and Chief Tipo are guarding the prisoners. It turns out that the octopus gangsters try to escape, but the Tibetan police overpower them. And now, leaving Speed and Clint to attend to the octopus and official business in Lhasa, Barney flies on to Nagchuka with Larry Winfield. We find him with Dr. Kingsley and Little Jean.
And I tell you, Doc, I've had plenty of adventures and exciting times in my day, but I've never seen anything to equal when Clint had to make the choice of giving up our chances of capturing the octopus or risking Speed's life.
Must have been terrible.
Would Quan Wu have really shot Speed, Barney?
Sure he would, Jane. Them guys have no more conscience than a tadpole.
Oh.
Hey, well, what are you crying for, Jane? Speed's safe now.
I know, but I get so scared when I think of what might have happened if Bob hadn't come in time.
That's what I call real friendship, honey. I'd like to know of somebody that'd cry when they thought of what almost happened to me. Only they'd be crying most of the time. That's better. Don't want Speed and Clint to see you crying when they come.
Do you think they'll be here soon, Barney?
Any minute. I know Clint isn't going to waste any time in getting the octopus safe behind bars. We cleaned up his gang here in Tibet, but that don't mean a thing in India, on the high seas, or any other place in the world. He's got headquarters in every country, you know. And the minute we're out of Tibet, they'll all be trying to rescue him because he's the brains of the mob. Without the octopus, they're sunk.
I'm more thankful than I can say to know that you boys have captured him at last. When I see what he's done to Marcia and Larry Winfield, two innocent people, I can easily imagine the ruin he has caused in other lives.
Yeah, that guy has plenty to answer for. Look at your own case, for instance. You was doing fine in Hong Kong until you got mixed up with the octopus. And mostly because of helping us. The secret police won't forget what you've done, Doc.
Great heaven, Barney, I only wish I could have done much more. I was so helpless.
Oh, there's a car driving up outside. Oh, Barney, is it...
Yeah, Gene, looks like Speed, Clint, and the gang, all right. Boy, they sure didn't waste any time.
Who's that elderly man getting out of the car, Barney?
That, Dr. Kingsley, is world enemy number 1.
You mean the octopus?
And not an imitation. The octopus in the flesh. And, of course, you recognize Quan Wu with him.
Yes.
Here, what's the matter, Gene?
Do you mind if I hold on to your hand and Daddy's, Barney? I'm kind of afraid.
You bet I mind. Gene, I love it. But you needn't be afraid of the octopus anymore. No, sirree.
Right this way, Speed.
Hi, Clint.
Hello. How are you?
I think this corner's the best place for the octopus and Wu. We just need 2 guards inside. Very well, Mr. Barlow. On guard.
Well, it's good to see you all safe and sound, Clint.
Well, thanks, Doctor. And I don't mind telling you we're glad to be here. Oh, I'd like you to meet LaChaux-C Ring, who's helped me more than I can say.
Well, how do you do?
What do you think of the octopus, Dr. Kingsley?
Well, it's hard to say, Speed. It's hard to believe that this elderly man is the octopus.
Oh, we have plenty of proof as to that, Doc. What I want to know is who the octopus is.
You mean you don't know? Even after arresting him?
Not unless Speed or Clint got more out of him on the way coming here.
No, Barney. He didn't say a word.
Why don't you take his disguise off, Speed?
Haven't got time to even do that, Gene. We're going to wait with everything until we get him back to Chief Riley in New York.
Yes, we came here mainly to say goodbye, Dr. Kingsley. Are Larry and Marcia all right?
Yes, they were asleep when we left the hotel.
That's all those kids need. Plenty of rest and good care.
I would have liked to have said goodbye to Miss Marcia and Larry, but we'll see them back in America pretty soon.
Well, that reminds me, Clint. What arrangements have been made for getting us out of Tibet?
Well, I've given full instructions to Bob Gilmore, Doctor, and Chief Tipo. I left them in Lhasa to clear up things that we didn't want to wait for. But they'll come here as soon as possible.
Bob's going to bring you and Gene and the Winfields out of Tibet just as soon as Miss Marcia and Larry are strong enough to travel, Dr. Kingsley.
Oh, I'll be so glad to get back to America.
I am sorry that your visit to Tibet has been such an unhappy one, Miss Kingsley. I hope that you will not judge our country by the circumstances which were caused by the octopus.
Oh, no, Mr. C-Ring. I think Tibet is wonderful.
Yes, indeed. Someday we'll come back when we have more time to see the wonders of Lhasa and similar cities.
I hope so.
Well, and now I think we'd better be on our way. Is the plane all ready, Barney?
Yep, she's waiting over at the landing field outside Nagchuka.
We better get going then. Y'all coming to see us off?
Oh, I should say so, Speed.
Well, you'll soon be following us, Gene. You'll see us off now, but when you return to America, we'll be there to welcome you. Well, come along, everybody. Come along, Gene.
Bye.
You too, Speed.
Yeah, let's get going.
Have you and Speed got your parachutes fastened on, Barney?
Yeah, Clint.
Well, then I guess everything's set. Oh, Mr. C-Ring.
Yes, Mr. Barlow.
On behalf of the International Secret Police, I want to thank you for aiding us in our pursuit of the octopus. If there's any way in which we can ever cooperate with you or your government, I hope that you'll call on us immediately.
Thank you, Mr. Barlow. It has been a great pleasure to know all of you. My government is sorry that you must leave so quickly. We hope to honor you and Speed and Mr. Dunlap as you deserve, but that will have to wait. We understand the need for haste.
Gee, thanks, Mr. C-Ring. I hope you can come to America someday.
Thank you, Speed. I shall try my best.
And now, Octopus, you and Quan Wu climb inside the plane. You better go along too, Barney.
It's a pleasure.
Well, and now, goodbye, Gene, Dr. Kingsley. Goodbye until we meet again.
So long, Gene. So long, Doctor.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, Clint. Bye. How are Quan Wu and the octopus enjoying the flight, Speed?
They're quiet enough, Barney. I'm keeping an eye on them while you and Clint take the plane over these mountains.
Yeah, it's no cinch hopping over these babies. These are the Himalayas.
Better climb even higher, Barney. We're still below those peaks ahead.
I'd better fly around them then, don't you think? Otherwise, you'll have to drag out the oxygen tank.
All right, then fly around if you want to risk yourself in the downdrafts.
They won't bother me none. We're so high that even a downdraft wouldn't do any more damage than scare me to death.
Clint, the octopus has fallen asleep.
Oh, good. If he's asleep, he won't be figuring out a way of escape.
Don't kid yourself. That devilfish figures even in his sleep.
No use now. Golly, just think, fellas. We've really caught the octopus. It's almost too good to be true.
Well, you glad it's all over, Speed?
Well, I'm glad we caught him, Clint. But, gee, I liked all the adventures we had in doing it, even the real dangerous ones.
Yeah, I suppose you'll never get tired of adventure, Speed. Clint and me never do. Oh, we talk a lot about vacations and stuff, but we're always restless until we're on another case.
Say, do I hear right? Grandma is really breaking down and admitting that he likes adventure.
Ah, nobody ever takes me serious.
Quan Wu,
Yes, Master?
are the secret police watching us?
Only the boy. And now even he is not watching. They are laughing. They believe you to be asleep.
That is exactly what I wanted them to believe.
What do you mean? Have you some plan?
Quan Wu, I swore a long time ago that the secret police would never catch me alive.
You do not mean...
Do not waste words. Let me know if the boy turns his head. Nothing must interfere with my plan.
They are paying no attention to us now. They are watching the mountains below.
Quan Wu, we are near the door.
Yes,
Handcuffed as you are, can you open it without attracting attention?
I believe so. Yes, I am sure of it.
Can you do it quickly?
Yes.
Then listen carefully. When the opportune moment arrives, I want you to open the door, then stand aside. I am going to jump from the plane.
Jump. But you will be killed.
Better this way than the slower death at the hands of the secret police.
But what will happen to me?
If you do not talk, Quan Wu, my band will find a way of freeing you from whatever prison you may be in. If you do betray the organization, you will be found in your prison and destroyed. Most unpleasantly.
I would never talk, never.
Good. I thought you would see wisdom.
Wait, the boy is looking. Now it is safe once more.
It will be a little while before he turns again. Now is the time to open the door.
But, Master, you have no chance of coming through this alive.
Open the door.
Yes, Master. Farewell.
Goodbye. And remember, do not turn traitor.
No.
The octopus, he's jumping!
Quick, get back there before Wu jumps, too.
Here, what are you doing? Gee whiz!
Have no fear, Speed Gibson. I love life better than to jump from a plane over the Himalayas.
Clint, Barney, can you see the octopus?
Yes, from this window. He's falling fast. Come up here, Speed.
So he'd rather go out that way than have us take him alive.
Yes, and we'd never be able to find his body in this section of the Himalayas.
Gosh, makes you feel kind of funny inside, doesn't it?
Yeah, the end of the octopus. Look, he's disappeared through that cloud bank.
Yes. As mysterious in death as he was in life. I wonder if we'll ever learn his real identity.
Maybe from Wu.
I don't think even he knew that, Speed. Well, all we can do is continue on with our flight and make our report in New York.
What sort of report, Clint?
Case of World versus the Octopus. Closed by sudden death of defendant.
That devilfish didn't need no defense.
I should say not.
Gee, octopuses are funny creatures.
Well, in our report to New York, I'll close the case. I don't mind telling you we're all lucky to have come out of it alive. Well, Speed, this is the end of your first case with the International Secret Police.
Okay, so there's Speed Gibson of the Secret International Police and the end of the first series. I guess you can all stop and think whether or not the octopus shows up in the next 78. So it was a fun series, and I don't know if you could recognize the three principal voices that you would recognize: Howard McNair, John Brown, and Gail Gordon was a little difficult, but he still slipped out some words that distinctively the way he'd pronounce his words. So Speed Gibson, everybody.
Thank you very much, Frank. I have to say that's one of my favorites.
I hope
It's
you enjoyed it.
one of the few series I've actually listened to every single episode that's available, which is a first for me. But thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That was really great. And I'm sure, does anyone have any questions for Frank?
No, I did want to comment, though, that I thought that the quality of the recording was very good for the age. Many times the transcriptions after a long period are rather muffled and so on, but this was excellent audio.
Okay.
Great stuff.
You know why? You know why the octopus was such a dangerous foe? Because he had 8 armies.
There you go. Well done, Ron. Very good. Well, now, this is
Frank?
Yes.
I don't know whether you looked it up or not, but the bakery that was on the full page ad that you had there for Speed Gibson,
yes,
was headquartered in Oakland, California, which pretty well puts this as a West Coast program.
No, I didn't realize that, John. Thank you.
I looked it up while it was playing. So there's no genius here.
Very good. Well, I think it's time to turn the proceedings over to Sally. I do want to welcome Ivan Cury, who is filling in for Walden at the very last minute. So it is really wonderful.
It's Martin Grams. Yeah, he's pitching for Martin Grams.
For Martin Grams, I'm sorry. Thank you, Walden. Yes, absolutely. So that we are fortunate indeed. There, I think, was a lot of palavering going on this afternoon and panic. And so thank you for being with us, Ivan.
I'm glad to be here. And I have a question.
Yes.
I'm sorry I came on so late into this because I love that. Was there any relationship to Hop Harrigan?
Yes,
Speed Gibson.
not that I'm aware of. Hop Harrigan came along. I mentioned early, and you can watch it on when we go on. It goes on our website probably Sunday or Monday. You can watch the entire proceedings.
Oh, I will.
So,
yeah.
But it was really the result of the interest that kids had at that era in what had happened to flyers during World War I and also the Lindbergh Crossing. And that's where Speed Gibson came up next.
I see. Okay.
Yes. Great stuff. So now we will, Sally Stevens, our own quiz mistress, has some questions for us that we can answer online or just with paper and pencil. The topic of this evening's quizzes, the title is Radio's Cozy Couples. And this quiz has been put together by Jack French, and being the person who inputs this into the polls so you can enjoy it electronically, it's a stinker. So good luck, everybody.
Now, I, of course, haven't read it yet. I'm always going for a cold read, so I have no idea. I play along.
Yes. Well, it's but I don't think your friend BB figures in it at all. So
thank goodness. Thank you, Jack. You're lovely.
I may be lying.
Thank
Don't think
Jack.
too much. So anyway, I will invite all of you to be on mute again as Sally takes over the proceedings with
All right,
Radio's
here-
Cozy Couples.
Thank you very much, Wendy. And I see I'm already made a co-host. So everyone, I will be posting the poll here in just a second. You may answer the questions online on the poll here on Zoom. You may also get your pencil and paper out, as I know John Abbott already had his and Wendy has hers. Very good. I see so many of our students today are prepared. Thank you, Dennis. I see your pen there. Excellent. Very nice, Marcia. Very good. Everyone is prepared. Look, very good, Frank. Thank you. What a great class I have. Gold stars for everyone. Wonderful. So get your materials out. I'm going to launch the poll. I will read the quiz questions and answers, and we will go over the answers after the main program. So you can't leave. I mean, stay tuned. Launching poll now. Thumbs up that you can see the poll. Let's see those thumbs. All right, excellent. Thank you very much. No, Wendy, you do not see the poll. No? Okay.
But other people see it, so I will.
Other people are seeing it, so, and it looks like it's running, so it might be in like a separate window or something like that. If you choose, okay, very good. All right, here we are. Radio's Cozy Couples. I have no idea what Jack has in store for us tonight. I'm answering the questions with you. Number 1. Natalie Park and Monty Masters of Yukon 28209 in real life had one son, Thomas. They nicknamed him A. Stopper, B. Topper, C. Popper, D. Chopper. Natalie Park and Monty Masters of Candy Matson, Yukon 28209 in real life had one son, Thomas. What did they nickname him? Number 2. Jinx Falkenberg, a beautiful magazine model, hosted a popular Manhattan radio talk show with her husband. Who was he? A. Clifton Fadiman, B. Laramie Johnson, C. Tex McCrary, D. Gary Moore. Jinx Falkenberg's radio talk show husband was who? Who? Not whom. Number 3. Scheduled in the middle of the afternoon soap operas was a CBS crime-solving couple in 2 on a Clue. Who was this deductive couple? A. Jeff and Debbie Spencer, B. Ulysses and Julia Grant, C. George and Penny Whistle, D. Clark and Lois Lane. Who was the deductive couple on Two on a Clue? Number 4. A popular couples morning gossip show in New York City was Dick and Dorothy. What were the couple's last names? A. Hames and Dix. B. Powell and Lamore. C. Colmar and Kilgallen. D. Dennison and Dandridge. What were the last names of popular morning gossip show hosts Dick and Dorothy? Number 5. Ozzie Nelson and Harriet Hilliard were married in a private service in her mother's house. When and where? A. March 12th, 1933 in Kenosha, Wisconsin. B. October 8th, 1935 in Hackensack, New Jersey. C. June 15th, 1937 in Peoria, Illinois. D. May 27th, 1939 in Mason City, Iowa. When and where were Ozzie Nelson and Harriet Hilliard married? Number 6. This radio couple spent years in radio portraying the O. Henry twins, the Air Scouts, and Luke and Miranda before they hit the big time. Who were they? A. George Burns and Gracie Allen. B. Fred Allen and Portland Hoffa. C. Jim Jordan and Marion Driscoll. D. Jack Benny and Sadie Marks. Which radio couple portrayed the O. Henry twins, the Air Scouts, and Luke and Miranda before they hit the big time? Number 7. Front Page Farrell on NBC first had Richard Widmark in the title role. His wife was played by the lovely A. Mercedes McCambridge. B. Florence Williams. C. Mary Jane Higby. D. Alice Frost. Who played Richard Widmark's wife on Front Page Farrell. Number 8. It's a crime Mr. Collins had a married couple solving mysteries. It was a blatant carbon copy of a prior mutual series. Name the original. A. Abbott Mysteries. B. Mr. and Mrs. North. C. Michael and Kitty. D. The Adventures of the Thin Man. It's a crime Mr. Collins had a married couple solving mysteries, which was a blatant copy of a mutual series. Which one? Number 9. Dozens of soap operas were written by Air Features, a fiction factory created and managed by Frank Hummert and his wife, the former Anne Schumacher. How did they first meet? A. Passengers on a commuter train to Manhattan. B. Members of the same temple in the Hamptons. C. Co-employees at the same advertising agency. D. Lived on the same floor of a Chicago apartment building. How did Frank Hummert and his wife, the former Anne Schumacher, first meet? Number 10. This real-life Hollywood couple played co-leads in Stand By for Crime, a popular 1953 syndicated show. Name that couple. A. Joan Blondell and Dick Powell. B. Lauren Bacall and Humphrey Bogart. C. Betsy Drake and Cary Grant. D. Adele Jurgens and Glenn Langan. Which real-life Hollywood couple played co-leads in Stand By for Crime? All right. These were very compelling questions, Jack. Very well done. I am going to be making some very educated guesses in my answers. I will leave the poll running since I see only a few people have participated. So I'm going to leave it up through our main program. If you choose to submit your answers, you do not have to. But I will leave it running. I will not end the poll until following our main program. And then we will go over our answers together and see
Thank
how
you,
well we do.
Sally.
but I
Thank you.
always pass as the teacher.
Right. John Reiser, do you have your hand up? Are you wanting to ask a question or just working your controls? You're okay, that's fine. All right. Well, now we are at that happy time when we come to our main program. We had a last minute change, as we mentioned earlier today. Instead of Martin Graham's tonight, we have Ivan Cury, who graciously stepped in. I think Walden helped broker this deal. Thank you very much, Walden.
Wow.
And so just by way of introduction, Ivan began his radio career at age 10, and he was 12 years old when he began playing the character of Bobby Benson. I hope he won't mind my mentioning that he will be 85 in June, and he certainly doesn't look it. So he must have found the fountain of youth. Are you going to be doing any screen sharing, or is this basically a talk?
We'll just ask questions to Ivan, so no screen sharing.
Excellent.
Walden?
So I guess it'll be open season on Ivan to ask to have questions. Yes, Walden?
Frank,
Wendy?
you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to have the screen for 1 second.
Yes, you do.
You'll see why in a second.
You have access, Frank.
Okay.
I didn't revoke your credentials yet.
Not the one I wanted, so let's get out of here. Get rid of that one. Okay. I just wanted to, here's a picture of Ivan as Bobby Benson, and here's the opening of a show from December of 1949.
All right, have you started sharing yet? Because I don't see anything. Frank is in the process of mastering a new computer, which is kind of bucking back at him from time to time.
So you didn't see that? I can do it again.
There
real
was
quickly if you
nothing.
didn't see it.
Did anyone else see anything else? I didn't.
No.
No.
Okay, well then, let
Nothing
me
came
try it
up.
one more time.
Wendy, while we're waiting, can I say hello to Ivan Cury?
You can hold that thought, please,
Okay.
Edgar.
Okay.
And we'll let Frank complete his screen sharing, we
Yeah.
hope.
Yeah, you're right about that, huh? Okay, let's share.
There you go.
All right, now. Want to take a second here because it went away
Yep,
on me.
Yep, there you go.
All right, there we go.
Ah,
So, all right.
Here they come. They're riding fast and they're riding hard. It's time for excitement and adventure in the West with Bobby Benson and his B-Bar-B Rider. Today's exciting story, Killer Whales.
I'm sorry I didn't have time to put together more pictures and the like, but I thought that was one way to start it.
and he hasn't changed a lick.
A lick. A lick.
All right.
Ivan, were you a fan of radio before you got into it?
Oh my goodness! Of course. Yes. I could. Yes. I mean, I very much so. It was every time you get sick, you get to listen to all the calls to breakfast. Yes, and of course the Lone Ranger, and it was very exciting to do that stuff and to go into the control rooms afterwards when I started working, and the cast would get through with scripts and they throw them away. They throw away these scripts. I'd read them. I loved the stories. They were terrific. and to get to know. I mean, I knew I'm not. I don't think I knew the Lone Ranger, but I knew the Shadow. I mean, I knew the Shadow. Are you kidding me? That was just the most exciting thing in the world. And I mean, I recognized that it was showbiz or whatever, but it was lovely to know them, and so many of the actors were terrific. There were a couple of I can't even think of anyone who wasn't, but well, but it was just wonderful. I look forward to it.
How did you break into the business?
I wanted to do this kind of thing. When I was 4, I was dancing in front of the RKO theater, the cashier, hoping that she'd put me into whatever was going on in that room. I wanted to know about it. I was 4. But by the time, and my mother had a millinery store. She was a milliner. And she went to some meetings with some, and we went to dinner or after the meeting to a cafeteria, and it took me no time at all to enter. We met one of her sales ladies who's the friend, and they said, "Oh, well, sing for us or dance for us," something like that, and it took me no time to perform. And she said, "Oh, he's so cute." And there's a woman who you ought to meet, a woman who's named Dora Weissman, and Dora had been a star in the Yiddish theater in New York, which is where I was born and lived. And she was running a school for kid actors. And so I met Dora Weissman, and my mother put me into the school. And one of the things Dora would do was she would arrange for the kids to have an audition, a general audition at CBS. Now, these were the days, 1948, 49, where CBS, NBC both had general auditions, and you could just go in, anybody could go in and audition. I can't imagine why or how that all worked for them, but they did do that. And I auditioned, and I could read well. And I read for the audition, and within a very short time they called and asked if I would be one of the kids on Let's Pretend. And so, within, it was New Year's Eve 1948, I think, where on New Year's Eve I worked with Hank Silverne and Ted Cott doing Jack and the Beanstalk, which began for Caravan Records, which became a hit record for kids. And then the next day I did Let's Pretend, did the New Year's show, and didn't work for 3 months after that, and cried myself to sleep every night after that because I loved it, and I didn't quite understand how the show business worked. That I was ready to do it every day, and so that's really how I started.
You picked the material for the audition, or did they hand?
Oh,
you...
no. That was really what the school, I suspect, was. And there was material like, I remember some of it as it happens. There was a poem we read that went, "I'm an American, yes sirree, and it's a wonderful privilege, Dad tells me, to know that your flag is clean and fine, with the red, the white, and the stars that shine." And then I don't remember the rest of it. We went on from there. And the other one was we heard a story about, "Hi, mister, I'm looking for my dog, Lucky." "What? You say there was an automobile accident? There was a little dog. Oh, no, Lucky, Lucky." And then you cry. So after having done those two things, then the real issue came, and they would hand you a script and say, "Okay, kid, now read this," because the other stuff was memorized. And that was no problem at all for me. So I read it. And it was one kind of really marvelous thing happened much later in life. Rosemary Rice was, no, let me get it right. Rosemary Rice, who played I Remember Mama? Was that Rosemary Rice?
Yeah, that was her show. Right. She played
right. Well, I think it was either at Reps or at Spurdvac.
We did both. Yeah, did both places.
Well, somehow or other, we did a show together. We really didn't work together very much at all, but we wound up sitting next to each other at a table. and she asked me about myself, and I asked her about herself, and I read for a woman named, I don't remember it, but her boss, May McNair, her boss is Marge Morrow. Marge Morrow was the head of casting for CBS. And I said Marge Morrow, and Rosemary went, "Oh my!" And Rosemary had taken Marge had taken Rosemary under her wing, and so much of what happened for Rosemary happened because Marge Morrow was at CBS, and much of what happened with me was because of Marge Morrow. She'd find somebody who could read and who she liked, who could act, and then when people would come and say, "Well, I need a kid for the show," she'd recommend the kids that she knew because it was a cast. She was in charge of casting. It was a totally appropriate thing to do. Casting directors later on became more involved with what human resources would do in a corporate world. That is, they did not cast so much as take care of the business of AFTRA and all the rest of that. But in those days, the casting director actually did some casting. And so we found that we had this one woman in common. And the first time Rosemary had ever had a drink of alcohol, that was on her 18th or her 21st birthday, and Marge Morrow had given it to her. And so Rosemary and I spent a lovely, lovely evening together at one of those conventions, talking about Marge Morrow and about those early days in CBS. You know, for kid actors in those days, and this does go off a little bit, in order to work, you had to have permits. And you had permits from two organizations. One was the Association of CCC, American Society of Prevention of Cruelty to Children, and you needed to get okay from them, and you needed to get a permission from the mayor's office of New York, and they checked your records. They made you had to be doing okay at school. If you weren't, they wouldn't give you permission, and then you couldn't work, which was I thought a pretty good thing to do. It wasn't a big problem for me, but my father would go sometimes for those records, that he would get the guy who gave them out would get a little annoyed. And the reason he was sort of annoyed one day, he said, he realized I did FBI in Peace and War, and that was a kind of a regular show for me. And I would go in and I'd say, "Gee, Dad, where's the lava soap?" That was it. Did it twice. And I think it paid $42, which was a lot of money at the time, which was probably close to his weekly salary. And he was kind of annoyed that these kids he was signing off on them, and they'd go in and say, "Where's and they'd making all this money." I just thought I'd say that in passing. Also, that the kids you heard did have to get through school. And that was really because of, I think, Milton Berle, I know, had something to do with it as a kid actor, because they started professional children's school on the East Coast for that, because of him.
They put together a trust for kid radio actors where the salary went to.
I don't know. They didn't. They didn't for me. They didn't for me. A lot of the money that I made went to. I loved learning tap dancing and singing and piano lessons and just doing all kinds of things like that. So a lot of it went there. And I think the money in our family was pretty much all went into a pot. Whoever was working, the money went in there. So we did, but there wasn't any major things. There were some kids who made an awful lot of money, and they had problems. I didn't. I was not in that. Made a nice sort of living, I think, but not anything that was going to cause any kind of legal problems. And so, no, the answer to the question is, it was not certainly mandated.
When you did Let's Pretend, was Nyla Mack involved at all?
Nyla Mack was Let's Pretend. She wrote it, she produced it, she directed it, and she was very particular about how it was. There were I don't know if anyone had a contract with Nyla Mack. She did not want to have anybody feel like they were like they had the job, so that if you worked with her, you would be called every week for the show, and there was no guarantee that you're going to get called the next week. there were some people who seemed to be on all the time. Sybil Trent, Gwen Davies, Miriam Wolfe. You know, there was a kind of a regular group of folks who were there, and I was happy to be sort of second or third tier to do a lot of shows for her. One of the big moments, kind of, as a kid actor, you have some. I played Hiawatha. Oh, I loved it. It was the leading part. That was great. Another wonderful moment out of my life was when I was, I think, 16 or 17. I finally got to do a kiss on radio, and I kissed Sybil Trent. It was, I don't know, The Whispering Street or My True Story, one of those. And it was just great. Judy, oh, Judy. Yay! Loved it. That was about it.
So after the 3 months ended, you remember what was the next job? After
Oh yes, no. Yes, I do. Yeah, what happened was I think I do kind of Dean Stockwell, or I think it was Dean Stockwell, but it could have been Butch Cavell. No, I think it was Dean Stockwell. Was supposed to do the lead opposite Walter Hamden on Cavalcade of America with Walter Houston. Where was Walter Houston? I don't know. Wait a minute. Walter Hamden. It wasn't Walter Hamden. Walter Hamden. And he couldn't make it for some reason. So they, one of those things, oh my God, he's Dean Stockwell, he can't come. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? And so somebody said, well, there's this new kid. Why don't you try him? And they were stuck. What are they going to do? So I was it. And something else happened at the same time, and that was the Electric Theater with Helen Hayes needed a kid who could do an Irish accent. Now, I loved Barry Fitzgerald, but I still do. And so they called me in, and I was able to read the thing and read it with an Irish accent. And at the end of it, my name's Cury, of course. And so at the end of it, they asked my father, who was from Russia, is the family from Ireland? And my father, of course, totally surprised. First of all, he had no idea he could talk with an Irish accent. Where did that come from? All crazy. So, but no. And I did a lot of shows because I could do accents pretty well. I could do French and Spanish and Irish, and I had kind of German. And I don't know where that came from or how or why, but I was glad of it. And I was in Ireland not recently, in the past 10 years. And I thought it would be interesting to see what would happen if, when in Ireland, I talked with an Irish accent, would it work? And so I was at the Guinness factory. And I asked some of the fellas there, talking regular. I said, I want to try something, I don't want to be anybody, be upset or anything like that, but I want to try to talk as if I were from Ireland. So if I were to talk this way, how would y'all feel about it? Well, they loved it. They had a charming time. Calling their friends, like, come listen to this man talk, you think he's from here. And so we had a nice time. And so, yeah. Oh, and what other funny story like that was scary? I played the part recently, and again at one of the either reps or Spurtvac. There was a Dr. Watson, what is that? A Sherlock Holmes show.
Right.
And the two actors who were playing it were from England. And I was playing the inspector. So it was sort of not exactly, it wasn't high English. It was, and he couldn't actually be someone who's talking like that, None of the very high English. But he had to be someone who had a sort of that, but a little less, the inspector. And I did that with them, and it worked. It was okay. It was kind of fun to do. That's all.
What about technique as a kid? I mean, you got in it really quickly. Did you really didn't have any training ahead of time, right? I mean,
no, and I don't think you can. There was something that I learned at the time, and I think it's really kind of an offshoot. I don't not if you probably have spoken to a number of actors who of the period. There was a place, Alfred Dixon was the name of the company, and he had developed a kind of a method of working radio acting that was very peculiar. I think I have some stuff here that I can read. Probably just, but what it was that it kept you off. Yes, this is something. Here's a thing. From the moment I first set foot inside a radio studio, I was hooked. And what this method was, it was called sync. He called it sync, and you took as much as you could of a line and just memorized just that much. So from the moment I first set foot in a radio studio, I was hooked. But the idea was to keep you off the page, so that you weren't reading when you were talking. You were able to connect with the other actors, really look at them and deal with them. And so I kind of learned how to do that and did that for a while, and still sometimes do that. I think if I were really being very hardworking, if I was a hardworking actor now, I'd work it much more, because it's great to be able to talk to somebody, to really talk to them instead of just really talking all to the paper. That's
how did you mark up your script? Did you have your own style? Did everybody have their own style?
Yes, they did. And you did mark your script, and you marked it. Although pretty much, first of all, most of the scripts really followed a format. It's one of the things that, in a sense, I think it's a big kind of an amateurish thing, is that they are not marked. The scripts are not in the right format, and it makes it difficult. And the right format is somewhat like legal papers. That is to say, each page has page numbers on the upper right-hand corner. There are line numbers on the left side, so that if you need to make a change or do something, somebody can say, page 14, line 7 through line 12, cut, and you can get right to it. Instead of, it's the middle of the page, and oh, please. So that the script itself is in a specific kind of format. By the way, I mean, that's true for most of the medium. Television, I became a television director, and there really was a format for television direction. And that is the left side of the page had copy. The right side of the page is blank, so you can write in what you're supposed to do, or what the video is, while those words are being said. So there was a format, and that's the first thing. But then as to the marking of it, some people would make a circle around their line. Some would just make a line under their name. So there were different ways of doing it. The choice that I made was one that indicated how long the line was. So if I was coming to a long line, I'd know about it. Oh, another wonderful mess up is that lines end on the bottom of the page. You don't want to be in the middle of a sentence and have to turn the page. But sometimes we do find that happening. I don't know.
How did you get to Bobby Benson?
How did I get Bobby Benson? I almost didn't. I was at an audition for. I was at a show. I was doing something at something or other. It was very hard. My mother, as I said, had a store. She was a successful milliner. It was not. She was really doing stuff, and it was hard to get me to the studios. Once I was 13 or 14, I could go by myself, but even then, it was not too happy about it. And so this was early on. Since I started when I was 12, it had to be 11 and a half or 12. And so she had to go with me. Sometimes she could send one of the shoppers with me. But she was there, and there was an audition. And I remember there was a girl who I loved, Joan Laser. She was a much older woman. She was 12. I was 11. And they were sitting, the two mothers were sitting outside. And my mother said, "Oh, she's supposed to go over to Mutual for audition for some show. We really don't want to go." And Mrs. Laser, Joan's mother, said, "Don't be ridiculous. Of course you go over. What difference does it make? It'll take you an extra half hour or 45 minutes. Go." And so because Mrs. Laser sort of nagged at my mother, she took me, and I did an audition. They gave me the script. I read some words. And that was that. The next thing I knew, I got a call. It was just supposed to be a summer replacement. And of course, the Bobby Benson show in that sense really was, it had history. It started as HBO, the H.O. Oates. It was the H.O. Ranch. And a fellow named Herb Rice was the sort of Tex Mason character. Herb then wound up being the program director at Mutual and he needed to bring a show back. He knew one of the writers, and so they thought, well, they'll throw this thing in, and it wound up being very successful. It was a great lead-in show for the rest of the stuff that happened in the afternoon, and so they liked it. And then it became a great merchandising thing when they met a fellow named Sidney Dubroff who figured out a way to merchandise Bobby Benson, to make Bobby Benson merchandise. And while I certainly was not in on any of that, I just got, paid. They kept it as a sustaining show. And my guess is that Sidney Dubroff took a third, Herb Rice took a third, and Mutual got a third. And they kept it that way and did not want to have any sponsors because they'd have to share the loot. So it stayed a sustaining show, but it stayed on, and the kids liked it a lot, and it went on for a while. I left. They wanted me to go to Europe for, honestly, 14 countries in 10 days, and there were a lot of other kind of silly things that were happening, and I also got the option of playing the part of Dickie on Portia Faces Life, which paid more and did less. It was a 15-minute show, but it was sponsored. And so it was a regular part, running part. It was going to be on regularly. And so I left Bobby Benson and was Portia's son for a little while. Then actually both of those shows died after a short while. And that was that. But I was doing a lot of other shows at the time, so it didn't matter. It was kind of fun. You'd go from one studio to another. And I remember Henry Morgan. And I did the Henry Morgan show for a long time, and a bunch of others that were kind of fun. And all over in the same studio. So, and of course, NBC and ABC, of course, NBC and ABC came out of the same studios, and which were now the NBC studios, and they just toggle a switch one way or another, and that was that. So you could, if you were there were lots of shows going on.
Go ahead and open it up for a question from the audience. So, Wendy, Frank, you want to see if anybody have questions for Ivan? Open it up.
Well, I think first off, Edgar had some words he wanted to say, and then we'll get to questions.
Well, thank you. I have about 10,000 questions to ask Ivan. However, I won't do that. I did want to say, Ivan, you were wonderful in my production of Radio Goes to War at FOTR in 2011. You played Dick Tracy, and you pinch hit for Clive Rice, whose wife was sick, and you played Commander Don Winslow of the U.S. Navy. And I think at the time I said it was extremely touching that one Bobby Benson rode to the rescue of another Bobby Benson. And I also want to compliment you on your new work with Greg Oppenheimer. And I encourage everybody to go to YouTube and check the Greg Oppenheimer channel. You do great work. And then I've got one testimonial that I've been waiting like 15 years to give you. Ouch. This comes from a kid who lived in a tenement in New York City, and he said that Bobby Benson saved his life. He would imagine you all out in the West in the wide open spaces, and he said he had a horrible life, and he says Bobby Benson gave me a break or a new world to be in. So I want to give that to you, and I wish I could give it to Clive too. And my question, and then I will surrender to the thousands of others who have questions for you. Joan Laser was in an unforgettable episode of Quiet Please. She was in Pavan, and she also did the Girl with Flaxen Hair. It's the same show two different titles. Did she by any chance talk to you about that haunting, heartbreaking role she played?
No, no. I mean, well, just hearing anybody talk about her is kind of, oh my. But no, she didn't. But I was thinking about that. When you said that, I was thinking about Denise Alexander, another radio actress of the time. We'd all get those things, and we'd get parts, and they'd be, whatever they'd be. But it was just, oh yeah, what'd you do? We wouldn't even talk about it. It was just what you did. It was, and we loved doing. I can't say we, but I'm pretty sure it was we. We loved doing it. It was kind of fun. Some didn't. No, I know it didn't. David Anderson, Alan Shea. I don't know if those names mean anything. I suppose they do to some. They really didn't. They did the shows. They really didn't want to do it. I think David became a doctor. I don't know what happened to Alan Shea. We talk about the Bobby Benson show. There was I did it, then Clyde did it, but before Clyde there was Bobby McKnight, who did it for a little while. He had a wonderful voice, singing voice, but he really for some reason they didn't. I don't know what the story was. He didn't continue to do it. He was lost for a long time. He became a priest, but I loved it, and I know we did not. The answer to the question, answer is no, we did not talk about it.
Well, thank you, Ivan. I have millions of more, but I'll turn it over to others. But break a leg on your next gig.
Thanks. I want to just go on a little bit. There were things that were amazing to me as a kid. I told this, I think it's in one of the journals, about how we would affect sometimes people's lives and had nothing about it. Bobby Benson, I remember he went on a personal appearance tour, and I was asked, would you please go up to this kid's house? And I'm going to try to make it fast. I went up to this kid's house, and he was very sick in bed, and he was a Bobby Benson fan. And I'm 12 or 13 years old. I have no idea what the hell I'm supposed to say, but I'd seen enough movies to know, well, glad to see you, kid. Hope you're out there playing with us sometime. I just said what I'd heard in the movies. And that was that. And went on with my business. We did the personal appearance tour. It had to do with a department store. And that was that. But it was very successful. And so we were invited back. And as I said, this was a merchandising thing. So they were delighted to have us come. Herb Rice and the group were delighted for us to come back, and they were ordering more merchandise. And I came to the hotel, and there in the lobby was this kid who had been in a bed and can't move, and now he's in a wheelchair. And the door opens to the elevator, and he wobbles, and he stands up, and he starts to walk with me, and his parents are crying, and it was, and I was glad to see him. Wow, that's terrific. And I hope, we arranged to get stuff for the kid. But away from the kid, now I go into the room with, I think my mother was there. And what is that about? And I talked to some other people about it. I talked to I was doing a show in Nashville. I told the story to the two brothers who was I can't think. But they were guys who had written a song, and they were talking about how somebody had come to them and said that they had saved their lives, that they had I can't think of the name of the song. But they were, some soldiers were trapped, and so they started singing this song, and they said, no, we won't give up. And they started singing this song that these guys had written, and they repelled or held the enemy off for 2 days or something like that. And it was because that song, I can't think what it is. In the middle of the night, I'll call you all up and tell you what number.
Deal, good deal.
At any rate, and he wondered how does that work? What is that about? It's some cosmic thing it's nice that it sometimes exists. It's the end of it. Too long.
Wendy,
Yes, Charles.
Charles Nairn here. I cannot get my image to come up at all, no matter what I do with my computer. But Ivan, how are you?
Fine, Charles. How are you? Good to hear you.
Very good. I just
Good to
want
see your icon.
I just want to tell you, I am still looking for your January 1950 show on WOR. I haven't found it yet, but I'm okay. And I think this audience might just like to hear your story about how you saved the program with a Monica. You remember that?
Oh, well, but no, yeah, well, I think so. I do. Of course, I remember the story. I went to, I think that was Spurdvac. And they would do, it was Norman Corwin. It was a Norman Corwin show. My Curly, my client Curly, is it?
My client Curly, yeah.
My client Curly. Somebody else was doing it, and the organ pooped out, and I wasn't acting. I was just really there to say hello to people and what have you. And what is the song that they're supposed to play? Do you remember, Walden?
Probably Wally Doodle. I think it was.
No.
Like
No, I think it's Yes Sir My. At any rate.
Oh, yes, sir, yes, sir, that's my baby.
Right, so they weren't there. And it happens, I always have a harmonica nearby, so I went. And which sort of saved the day because the organ, they had lost power for a little while. And then it went on. And it was great fun to suddenly do that. Norman Corwin just looked around like, what the hell is going on? What is there about that? It was because it was not the organ. And then I had a great time with Norman Corwin. Oh, it was wonderful. I'd gone to one of the reps shows. We were both on the same airplane, so we shared a car going from reps to the airport, and there was a 2-hour wait where we had lunch. And so we sat and chatted with him for 2 hours. It was just delicious. How wonderful. Stuck in an airport with Norman Corwin. Oh, well, too bad.
I have a couple of questions, if I may.
Sure.
Yes, please.
Okay. Hi, Ivan. First off, I want to thank you for filling in tonight. That was really nice of you to come on such short notice. We appreciate it greatly.
I'm sorry that I didn't know more about it to begin with. I think I'd have been here anyway, so thank you.
Well, that's kind. I wanted to ask you a question about a couple of people that you worked with. We have a big Perry Como fan in our midst, and you worked with Perry Como. Could you tell us a little bit about Perry?
Oh, yes. I was Perry's son I was Perry's son on most, very many holidays. There's nothing to say. I did the Perry Como show, radio and television. Of course, the radio show we'd have to do twice, once for the East Coast, once for the West Coast, and I did one of the television shows. I don't think it was the last, but it probably should have been the last if it wasn't. There was a bunch of kids. It was a Christmas show, something like that, and it was Perry Como and. One of my favorite singers, Nat King Cole, and we were in the back there carrying on. Now, Perry Como was a really cool, neat guy. He was really nice, but we got under his skin, and he finally stood up from the piano and said, "Will you kids shut up? And we all did, recognizing that was not what you're supposed to do in the studio. But he was a sweet man. He was just a really nice guy. What else to say about that? I mean, you don't have very much to say with him. It was nice to do the show. Nice to be with him. He was nice. The staff around him was too. Sometimes some of those staffs can be brittle, to say the least.
Another one that you worked with. And he probably was fresh out of college, Don Knotts.
Oh, yes. Well, Don was, yes, he was. I think he was 26 when he did it, when he first started doing the show. I think that's how old he was. He just gotten married. And he was, so we were the young guys. And, of course, we were all very surprised when he started doing stuff that we had no idea he was going to do. He loved Al Schatt, the baseball comedian, you know, the guy who did all his, what is it called? Not improvs, pantomimes. And so he would do a lot of Al Schatt routines, and sometimes we'd just ask him to do it, or we'd get a guest on the show, and Bob Novak was the director, would say, Don, please, would you just do that thing? And he'd do one where the pitcher pitches the ball, and the pitcher then looks at the ball. And it was wonderful. My relationship to him, I am Jewish, and he took me, we'd go to lunch sometimes. We went to Toffanetti's, and he said he was having shrimp. And he said, do you like shrimp? And I said, I don't know, I haven't done it. He said, well, I'll order some for you. So he ordered some shrimp for me, and I had a shrimp, and he went, oh, you're Jewish. You shouldn't be eating shrimp. It's okay. It was okay. It was all right. But the first time I ever had shrimp was Don Knotts introduced me to shrimp. I love them. Still do.
You also worked with Frances Hallop, who had been Miss Duffy, and no, she was gone by the time you were on the show?
I think so, yes. No,
Okay.
the whole Hallop thing, Billy Hallop, Florence, that was from the original H-Bar-O. We didn't have that.
Okay.
The whole character was out of the show.
Okay. How about Tex Ritter? Was he?
No, Tex Ritter. I think Clyde. Walden, you may know this. I don't. I think Clyde wound up doing a show with Tex Ritter afterwards, a singing show for about 15 minutes that
Yeah,
ran
me
for a while,
too.
but I did not.
Okay. Well, is there a little story you can tell us about Don Knotts imitating Gabby Hayes?
Oh well, yes, right. Yeah. Don Knotts' character was fashioned after Gabby Hayes, Windy Wales, and he kind of so he was doing that, and there was he just was. Well, Gabby Hayes was in the next studio, the boys found out. That is the boys, Charlie Irving, they played Tex Mason, and so they said, gee, Don, there's a guy next door who'd love to meet you. Why don't you, let's have you come on and say hello. And so they brought him into the next studio, and there was Gabby Hayes, and he was mortified. He just, oh, I'm so sorry, sir. I've stolen your car. Gabby was fine with it. God, don't be ridiculous. Go on. You're a different old guy. Leave it alone. And so, but Don was very concerned about it when they first met. That was exciting.
Someone also mentioned to me that you had appeared on television as Bobby Benson, and there was something that happened one time.
Oh yeah, no, this was just silly as can be. There was, it was an ad-libbed, a half-hour ad-lib television show. I think about it now. They had a lot of nerve trusting me. I'm 13 with this show that we were going to ad-lib with 2 cameras, but they did. And what this particular storyline was that Don Knotts and we are trapped inside the bunkhouse. There'd be a little singing bit beforehand and some other stuff that was in it. But at the end of the show, we're trapped, and the bad guys are all around us. How are we ever going to make a getaway? And so the answer was we had smudge pots, so we would make a smoke screen and we'd escape. Okay, so you'd think they would try the smudge pots, but they didn't have too many, so they didn't want to use them all up. I think they only had 2, so they that was all they could use, and so we saved it for air, which was live, and we came to it and said, Don says, or I said, well, let's use the smudge pots, we'll get away, and then they're going to cut to horses riding away, and we lived happily ever after. So he opens it, they start the smudge pots, open the door, nothing happens. Well, see if those smudge pots are working, Bobby. Yeah, I'll see if they're working. You see if they were, nothing was going on. So Don got the idea of shaking the door, because there's a smudge pot right outside. Smudge pot being a smoke bomb is what it really was. And once he did that, the smoke came in the room. And I mean, I couldn't see my hand in front of my face. It was total whiteout. And so I'm sure that in the control room, they cut to the horses running away. I went across the studio to the other side where we were giving away a horse. The Bobby Benson thing. It was Fox's You Bet chocolate syrup. I held this horse, but this horse smelled all that smoke coming down at it. And the horse let loose at both ends with what a horse can do. And it was so funny that the guy on the boom fell off the boom laughing, while I was saying, "This wonderful horse can be yours if you just do this thing with it." So that was that. And,
great story.
I wondered I can't imagine who won that horse, because we lived in New York City. It was the tri-state metropolitan area. What would you do if you won a horse? I'm sure Baron Terry was shuddering. Oh my God, what are we going to do if we win? But I learned about Fox's You Bet chocolate syrup, which is pretty good. So that's that.
Ivan, John Abbott here. I'd like to ask you a question, and this is, I have to apologize for, not being up on your entire radiography here. How far into the waning days of radio did you work?
Well, I started working. I was born in 1937. I started working about 1948, 49, and I worked until 1954 when I went to Carnegie Tech to study theater arts. And as once that happened, it was beginning to die. Certainly beginning to die. Then you'd get a show, or maybe there'd be something on the air. But in the mid 50s, up to the mid 50s, television had begun to come on then, and so that I wound up doing a couple of. I became a regular on a show. There was an Italian Goldbergs called Papa Cellini, so I was the son on Papa Cellini, and there were other television things that were going on, Kraft and some others. You'd go in and do a show or so. What was the other one? There was a mystery thing where I was the newsboy that they left the tips with. I forgot. Martin Kane. It may have been Martin Kane. I don't remember. But until 1954. 1954, I went away to college. I studied theater arts at Carnegie.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that was it. And worked with. I mean, it's been in that sense in my life here. It's been very unusual because so many of the people I knew and worked with were New York actors, and so that would be names that probably mean something to you guys, but not everybody. Lawson Zerbe and Leon Janney and Ralph Bell and Roger DeKoven. They were the people who essentially were my teachers, because they were the heavies on the Bobby Benson show, and they were more than the heavies on the Bobby Benson show. They were on other shows as well, along with really some terrific actors and actresses. I used to do Dr. Christian quite often, and I did Mr. President with Edward Arnold a lot. These were all New York shows, and so now I live on the West Coast, and it's a whole different group of people that are known, And
did you ever get to work with Mandel Kramer or
Yes.
Bob Reddick?
Who? Bobby Nick?
Bob Reddick?
Yeah, Bobby Reddick. Yeah, sure, of course, yes. But that was before he came out to the West Coast. And who was the first one you said?
Mandel Kramer.
Yeah, Manny Kramer. I did know him. I don't remember him. I mean, I don't. Bobby Reddick I remember very well because we were about the same age. He was, I think he was a year younger than me, or two maybe. No, maybe a year younger. And we hung out together for a while, and then he moved out to the West Coast to do, I think, Lassie. So yes, I did know them, and you said those names. It made me think of some others. I can't think of right now.
I was just curious because I'm very much focused on yours truly, Johnny Dollar, and both of those played that title role in the last couple of years. So I'm always looking for insights on those two.
I'd love to be able to tell you more about it, but it's just we a bunch of kids had fun together.
You could always make something up. Yeah, I wouldn't know different.
Well, okay, we'll work on that way.
I have a question. I think early in the program you mentioned Quiet Please. Did you participate in that program at all? Or were you?
No.
Yes, Ernest Chappell.
No, I did not. I don't I didn't know it. I didn't know that. I'm surprised I didn't know Johnny Dollar. There's I hear a lot about that now, and I've done a couple of shows of Johnny Dollar things, but I didn't know it, and it seems to me even strange now that there was so much that was going on the other coast that I didn't know about. I wonder if the same thing is true about the shows you on the West Coast they were hearing. And I don't know what coast are you on? You're East Coast guys, aren't you?
East Coast, yeah.
Well, yeah, sure. So so that's where I was. But the West Coast folks, they don't. A lot of stuff they don't know about. That's where it is. Nothing to say about it. It was. I thought I didn't know what I was going to talk about, and I thought one of the things was about our what it was like to be a kid, to go into school. We went because I thought it was interesting to hear about how you were a kid actor. We all knew, of course, knew each other. We'd meet at auditions and we'd work together. I had a kind of butch voice. David Anderson had a kind of whiny voice. We're great together. That way we could be brothers. Well, I mean, so, certainly what they were looking for. So we got to know each other pretty well. But it was very peculiar because rehearsals, for example, the Bobby Benson show started, I think, at 10 or 11 in the morning. And you had to go to school. You had to be able to keep those marks up or you couldn't get your permits. And so we all were studying in a very kind of peculiar way with we had correspondence we were responsible for, and everybody had to learn all of the subjects by ourselves and or with the school. I went to something like 7 or 8 high schools. Now, because particularly math. I was not very good at math, so I'd fail geometry, and then I'd have to take a summer session, and I'd start a summer session and it would fail. I'd get a film to go to, and so I'd leave that one and go for a second session of geometry. I finally passed geometry. In case anybody wants to know, side angled side. I got it. Okay. That's strange life, but okay, it was fun.
I want to thank you for a fascinating presentation tonight. I had one question, and that is, did they use any specialized techniques for the time scheduling of shows during the broadcast hour?
I don't know what you mean.
In other words, there's certain types of shows broadcast at certain types of the day, other shows at certain types. Did they have any?
Oh, sure. Yes, I mean, well, I think if what you're, I think what you're talking about is one of the things that I was a regular on, and that was a great show, was True Detective, which started with hold the phone, it's time for O. Henry, Public Energy #1. That was me. So that was in the new WR had the Mutual Mystery Hour, or Hours. Was it Sunday night, I think? I don't remember when it was, but I know that was a regular show.
Sunday lineup, yeah.
When?
Or the Sunday lineup for Mutual.
Yeah, right. So that was just a regular show that I did every week and loved it. It was fun. That was where I learned. Oh God, I had a wonderful time with it. I was a Christmas show, and my lines were something like most of the time I just did that and then just said, "Oh, Henry, that for everybody," whatever I said. But one time they wrote copy for me, and the lines were I mean I still remember them because it was so terrifying. If you want to see the kids' eyes light up on Christmas morning, hang O. Henry candy bars around the tree. And if you were saying it as an actor, you'd say, if you want to see your kids' eyes light up on Sunday morning, hang O. Henry candy bars around the Christmas tree, which is the way I read it because I was an actor. And they went, no, it's a commercial. Do it like a commercial. Do it like a commercial. I had no idea what they were talking about. And I've forgotten the name of the announcer. He was a very famous announcer. And he said, I'll get him. I got him. And he took me aside, really arm like this, and he taught me how to do it. And so I came on it. If you want to see the kids' eyes light up on Christmas morning, hang O. Henry candy bars around the tree. I said that, they went, yes, that's it. No idea.
Thank you.
There we go. Well, thank you. It's been wonderful being there, seeing you all.
Oh,
Thanks.
it's wonderful seeing you too. I have found this absolutely delightful, and I'm watching the faces of the people who are not lurking in the background. Everyone is smiling and beaming through the whole conversation. It's just terrific. And that's rarer than you think. I mean, sometimes people are very intense and all, but this has just been a simply delightful evening. So thank you so much for giving us of your time. And Walden, thank you for your thoughtful and thought-provoking questions to get the conversation started. And, tease out the
Thank you, Ivan.
information.
I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye-bye all. Thanks very much. Thanks for having
Bye-bye.
me.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
And we'll be posting this will get posted too. So we'll be able to relive this interview over and over again on YouTube. So Walden, thank you very much. We're very much in your debt for this. Now we come to that happy part where you get to find out the answers to some of those very challenging questions. At least I found them challenging. I don't know about the rest of you, but then I'm something of a neophyte here. So if our quiz mistress would take it away, you still have hosting privileges.
Excellent. All right, everyone, get your tests and quizzes out. Please get a different color pencil or pen. I don't want any cheating on these answers now, class. No cheating. Thank you. Oh, very good. Oh, thank you, Edgar. You do get a bonus point for wearing your radio tie. Good job. You may have a bonus point. Excellent. All right, I'm going to end the poll now. It looks like a few more people were able to participate, so I'm glad I left it open. I'm ending the poll, and I'm going to share the results. Please give me a thumbs up when you can see it. Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. Okay. So we're going to go through the answers. So if you can go ahead and mute just so you can hear me okay. Going over number 1. Natalie Park and Monty Masters of Candy Mats in Yukon 28209 in real life had one son named Thomas, but what did they nickname him? Was it Stopper? That would be mean. Topper? Popper? Or Chopper? Looks like the majority on the poll went for Topper, but some went for Chopper. I don't know about this. I'm hoping it's Topper, but let's find out. Jack said the answers are below. Way below. Print out like 18 extra pages. Just kidding. The answer is, oh, nice job, majority. B, Topper. Topper was his nickname. I like that nickname. All right, number 2. This name almost got me. It's just a lot of letters. I mean, I think we're probably only missing like maybe 3 from the alphabet to do all of the letters. It's just a big name. Jinx Falkenberg. First of all, who names their child Jinx? Can we talk about this? Okay, I hope this is a nickname. Because if you sign on a birth certificate Jinx, I feel like that's a bad setup. That's just not a good start. Not a good start in life. That's just my opinion. I'm just saying. So Jinx Falkenberg, who was apparently a beautiful magazine model, also hosted a Manhattan radio talk show with her husband. Who was she married to? This was particularly difficult for those of us who had never heard of Jinx Falkenberg, sorry. And looks like many people also had no idea because we were all over the place. The majority did go for Tex McCrary. Let's find out who her husband was. Nice job, majority. C, Tex McCrary. Their name, their show was called Tex and Jinx. So if you knew that, good job. Both of which, thank goodness, Jack, you included this information because I was very concerned, were nicknames. Their real names were John and Eugenia. Okay, it all makes sense now. I understand everything. Jinx, fine, just fine. That's much better. Much fine. Straight. Go with it. Okay, number 3. Scheduled in the middle of the afternoon soap operas was a CBS crime-solving couple in 2 on a Clue, which I feel was like an answer in an earlier quiz. It rang some alarm bells in my brain for things I've read before. Oh, I saw those eyebrows, Jack. Who was the deductive couple? Jeff and Debbie Spencer? The majority think so. We'll find out if you're correct. Could it have been Ulysses and Julia Grant back from the dead and doing radio? I say, why not? Nobody else thought so, but you never know. Could have been a science fiction.
Just give the answers, lady.
Your arms, be careful.
Could have been. All right, Peanut Gallery. Could have been George and Penny Whistle. Or could it have been Clark and Lois Lane? Well, the answers for number 3, the majority wins. Jeff and Debbie Spencer. Jeff and Debbie Spencer. Number 4. A popular couples morning gossip show in New York City was Dick and Dorothy, but what were their last names? Was it Hames and Dix? Nobody thought so online. Powell and Lamore. Nobody else thought so. The majority went with Colmar and Kilgallen. But a few of us also went for Dennison and Dandridge. Let's see what our correct answer is. Majority wins again. C, Colmar and Kilgallen. And I could be totally destroying that. Jack, you were trying to get me. I know you were. There we go.
2 right and 2 wrong.
Number 5. Ozzie Nelson and Harriet Hilliard were married in a private service at her mother's house. When did this happen? And where was her mother's home? Was this... Oh, we were all over the place. Our answers there, nobody knew for sure here.
Now I realize, I remember.
Could it have been March in Wisconsin, October in New Jersey, June in Illinois, or May in Iowa? The correct answer is... Nice job to the 3 of you that guessed B. October 8th, 1935 in Hackensack, New Jersey. This was Harriet's second marriage, but Ozzie's first. There we go. Very good. Number 6. Going on down. This radio couple spent years in radio portraying the O. Henry twins, the Air Scouts, and Luke and Miranda before they hit the big time, and their names were very recognizable. Who was this couple? Again, kind of all over the place. Was it George and Gracie, Fred Allen and Portland, Jim Jordan and Marion Driscoll, or Jack Benny and Sadie Marks? Who was our famous couple? The answer is, good job, majority, C, Jim Jordan and Marion Driscoll. Yes, with Fibber McGee and Molly. Excellent, excellent. Number 7. Front Page Farrell on NBC first had Richard Widmark in the title role. And who played his wife in Front Page Feral? A few guesses all over the place. The fewest guesses for Florence Williams, even almost spread apart for Mercedes McCambridge, Mary Jane Higby, and Alice Frost. So who played the wife of Richard Widmark in Front Page Feral? All right. If you picked B, raise your hand. Nice job. You got that one correct. Okay, Jack, you don't count. You do not count, Jack. You know all the answers, sir. But Florence Williams is correct. Oh, nice job, Edgar. Very good. All right. Bonus points around. All right.
Oh boy. I can use them.
You can cash them in at the end of the year. Maybe you'll get an extra pencil. Number 8. It's a crime Mr. Collins had a married couple solving mysteries, but this was a blatant carbon copy of a previous mutual series. What is the original series? I was really hoping it was going to be Abbott Mysteries. Is that a real show? Or is one we'll see? Oh, all right. Excellent. Could have been Mr. and Mrs. North. Michael and Kitty. Doesn't quite sound like a mystery show, but we'll see about that. Or The Adventures of the Thin Man. We were kind of spread all over the place evenly, especially with B and D. Let's see what the correct answer is. All right, Jack, did you do this one again? Raise your hand if you selected A, Abbott Mysteries. John, you knew. Of course, you had to know it. You had to know it, John Abbott. You had to know. All right, nice job. I'm going to have to check that one out. I was definitely going with Mr. and Mrs. North myself.
Of course, I know every old-time radio program that has an Abbott character in it.
Well, that would be expected. Excellent job. Bonus points for having the same name. I'm just throwing out points tonight. Throwing out points. Number 9. Dozens of soap operas were written by Air Features, a fiction factory created and managed by Frank Hummert and his wife, the former Anne Schumacher. But how did they meet? It looks like most people thought that they were co-employees at the same advertising agency, but there was a smattering of people that thought the other answers. Maybe they were passengers on the same train, members of the same temple, or lived in the same floor of an apartment building. Well, the correct answer is the majority has it. They were co-employees at the same advertising agency. What was the advertising agency, Jack? Up, shoulder shrug. Had to try to stump him. Oh. Maybe he knows.
It was Frank's advertising agency, and she was hired as a secretary.
Oh, there
Romance Blue.
And Romance Blue.
She married the boss. Good for her.
There we go. Excellent. All right, final question, kids. This real-life Hollywood couple played co-leads in Stand By for Crime, a popular 1953 syndicated show. Who was that couple? Pretty famous folks in these answers here. Joan Blondell and Dick Powell. A number of us said that one. Could it have been Lauren Bacall and Humphrey Bogart? Not too many selected them. Betsy Drake and Cary Grant in one of my favorite films. A few of us selected this. Or Adele Jurgens and Glenn Langan. Let's see. Who is our couple? Oh, nice job to the 4 of you that selected D. Adele Jurgens and Glenn Langan. They were our real life Hollywood couple in Stand By for Crime. Nice job, everyone. This was a very good quiz, Jack. Thank you very much for the interesting questions. And I have some new programs now I've got to go figure out and find out about. I'm going to stop sharing the poll and turn it back to our esteemed president. Well done, everyone. Bonus points all around. Give yourself a star.
Just for giving it the old college try. It was a good one, Jack. I was scratching my head the whole time. It's like, oh. Great stuff and great work, Miss Quiz Mistress, as always. Thank you. I'm now going to revoke your co-host privileges.
That's the reward for a good job.
Yes, a great job.
Unbelievable. I got 70%.
Oh, that's impressive,
Yay.
John Reiser. That's very impressive. So I think now is at the time where we can stop the recording and quickly move through the business meeting.